Pablo Escobar was one of the most feared and wealthy criminals in history. As the leader of the Medellin cartel, he controlled most of the world's cocaine trade.
He had his own little empire going in Colombia at this time, and 80% of the cocaine was being sent by Pablo Escobar and the Medellin cartel,
making an incredible amount of money every day. At his peak, he was worth around $30 billion.
You've got a man who has been estimated at being worth between $8 and $30 billion.
Imagine making millions of dollars a day. Where would you spend it? Well, Pablo spends it on a lot of things, including massive homes all across the world. And those properties are still there but can't be sold for some reason. Let's discover the dark stories of betrayal and luxury in Escobar's crime world. Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria. Escobar was not just a drug lord, he was a complex paradox. A hero to some and a monster to others. He built neighborhoods and sponsored charity events, yet his hands were stained with the blood of thousands. Escobar was both revered and reviled in Colombia, his home country, a figure of polar extremes whose actions disrupted the fabric of Colombian society. I'm sure some of the mansions owned by Pablo will shock you, from private zoos, private airports, and millions of dollars hidden within the walls. Among Escobar's many assets were around 170 homes, each one fortified like a small fortress and lavishly furnished to accommodate his associates and keep his family safe. These properties were more than just places to live. They were symbols of his power and the luxurious lifestyle that drug money could afford. The grandeur of these estates was unmatched, featuring vast grounds, private zoos, and fleets of luxury cars.
Let's explore La Manuela, where luxury meets danger in Escobar's hidden estate.
La Manuelita. La Manuela, a large 20-acre estate, was more than just a home. It was a symbol of Pablo Escobar's immense wealth and his deep affection for his daughter Manuela, for whom it was named. Located in the picturesque region of Guatapa, surrounded by islands and beautiful views, the mansion sat right on the edge of a reservoir, offering stunning sights of the water and the landscape beyond. This luxurious property had everything one could imagine for a life of comfort and leisure. The estate had tennis courts and a private stable filled with some of the best horses money could buy, reflecting Escobar's love for horse riding. A climate-controlled swimming pool provided a peaceful escape, and there were large areas dedicated to relaxation and entertainment. For those seeking a bit of adventure, there were jet skis and sports boats ready to add some thrill to the calm setting. For more than 10 years, La Manuela was Escobar's personal retreat, where he hosted grand family gatherings and celebrations. The mansion was a symbol of his incredible wealth and status, a private paradise where he could enjoy happy moments with his closest family and friends, all surrounded by luxury. But this wasn't the worst part of La Manuela's story. In early 1993, a group called Los Pepes, driven by a deep hatred for Escobar, carried out a bold and destructive attack on the estate. They managed to break into La Manuela and placed 300 kilograms of dynamite in one of the bathrooms. The resulting explosion was massive, causing significant damage to the property. This attack was part of a larger effort by Los Pepes to weaken Escobar's operations and force him out of hiding. Los Pepes, made up of relatives and friends of Escobar's many victims, were relentless in their mission to bring him down. They targeted his assets like La Manuela to reduce his power and bring him to justice. The explosion marked a turning point for La Manuela, as the damage led to its eventual seizure by the Colombian government. When authorities took control of the estate, they discovered large amounts of money hidden within its walls, along with luxury cars and valuable artwork. These items were confiscated as part of the ongoing fight against Escobar's criminal empire. But this wasn't the end of La Manuela's troubles. After the government seized the property, it was placed under surveillance to prevent the public from looting, as there were rumors of hidden treasures still buried somewhere on the estate. Despite these precautions, the once grand mansion began to fall apart, slowly being taken over by nature as the years passed. Today, La Manuela is a shadow of its former self. The once beautiful estate is now a ghostly ruin, its decaying buildings now serving as an unusual spot for paintball games. In a twist of irony, the estate that once stood as a symbol of Escobar's immense wealth and power has become a playground for a sport that in a way mirrors the violence that marked so much of his life. But the story doesn't end there. In an interview, Escobar's brother revealed that more than $2.1 billion had been hidden across various properties, including La Manuela. The money was usually wrapped in plastic and concealed in obscure places, or buried underground to avoid detection. However, even with these precautions, the elements and even rodents posed a constant threat, chewing through the cash and reducing the hidden fortunes. Moving on, we uncover the grand and secretive world of Hacienda Napoles. Hacienda Napoles. Hacienda Napoles, once the grand estate of Pablo Escobar, stood as a striking symbol of his immense wealth and the scale of his criminal empire. Located in Puerto Triunfo, within the Antioquia department of Colombia, the estate sprawled over 3,000 hectares. Escobar took several months to acquire this vast piece of land, laying the foundation for what would become one of the most iconic symbols of his lavish lifestyle. The construction of Hacienda Napoles took about 3 years. The estate wasn't just a home, it was a massive complex, featuring a colonial-style house with numerous rooms and several other buildings that provided luxurious accommodations. Escobar didn't stop at just constructing a house. He created a self-contained world, complete with carefully built roads and artificial lakes. The estate boasted 6 swimming pools, various sports courts, and even a private airstrip with multiple hangars. These hangars housed his fleet of 14 private planes and 6 helicopters. To keep everything running smoothly, a private gas station was installed on the property to fuel his numerous vehicles and aircraft. One of the most extravagant features of Hacienda Napoles was its private zoo. Escobar imported exotic animals from around the world, including rhinoceroses, elephants, and giraffes, which roamed freely across the estate's vast grounds. These animals weren't just for his family's amusement. They became a major attraction for the hundreds of guests who visited the estate to attend some of the most legendary parties in Latin America. In 1991, during a particularly violent period, Escobar's family fled Colombia, leaving the estate behind. Without the family to care for it, the estate began to fall into disrepair. The once lush and meticulously maintained grounds started to wither, and nature slowly began to reclaim the land. After Escobar's death in 1993, the Colombian government won control of the property. In an effort to move away from its dark past, part of the estate was turned into a medium-security prison. The main house and much of the surrounding land were handed over to the Department of Antioquia. For years, there was debate over what to do with the property. Then in 2007, a private company proposed a bold transformation. They would convert Hacienda Napoles into a theme park. Today, the estate has been reimagined as a major tourist destination. Visitors can explore the remains of Escobar's once lavish mansion and enjoy various recreational facilities within the park. As for the zoo animals, they were rescued and relocated to other zoos and conservation centers throughout Colombia, ensuring they would continue to be cared for properly. However, even with Hacienda Napoles transformed into a theme park, the legacy of its former owner remains. For years, people have searched the grounds, driven by rumors that Escobar had hidden treasures buried somewhere on the estate. They dug in hopes of finding caches of money or jewels, a testament to the enduring myths about the incredible wealth that once flowed through this place. But that's not the full story. The transformation of Hacienda Napoles into a theme park is part of a larger tale that mirrors the rise and fall of Pablo Escobar himself. The estate, once a private paradise that showcased the extravagant lifestyle made possible through illegal activities, is now a place of leisure and learning. It continues to capture the imagination of those who visit, not just because of its attractions, but because of the fascinating story of the man who built it. The story of Hacienda Napoles is a vivid reminder of the complex legacy left behind by Escobar. It intertwines tales of excess, crime, and eventually a form of redemption, as the estate has been repurposed for a more positive use. Today, visitors to the theme park are drawn not only by the thrill of its attractions, but also by the story of Pablo Escobar, a man whose life was as controversial as it was influential. From opulence to isolation, discover the story behind the Grand La Casa Grande. La Casa Grande. Deep in a thick jungle, far from the cities of Colombia, there was a massive house known as La Casa Grande. This wasn't just any big house. It was built on a hidden island called Grande Cayenne. The island and the house were the brainchild of the infamous Pablo Escobar, who imagined it as a place where he could escape from the world. The house had shining white walls that reflected the sunlight, making it stand out even more in its remote location. With over 300 rooms, La Casa Grande was designed to be a home not only for Escobar and his family, but also for the 140 security guards who were always on duty to protect the estate. Building La Casa Grande took many years, and no expense was spared to make it a symbol of luxury. One of the most eye-catching features was the bathrooms, where even the showers and sinks were made of pure gold. This extravagant detail showed just how wealthy and powerful Escobar was. The mansion also had everything you might find in a high-end resort, from several swimming pools to artificial lakes. There were even recreational vehicles for guests to use when exploring the nearby sea and other islands. But getting to this island paradise was no easy task. The only way to reach La Casa Grande was by making a long journey through the dense jungle. This trek was dangerous, not just because of the wild terrain, but also because of the armed guards and the hidden mines that were placed around the island to keep intruders away. The main entrance was a heavily guarded pier, and only those who were personally invited by Escobar could enter. Anyone else who tried to get in faced serious consequences. Today, La Casa Grande no longer shines like it once did. The powerful forces of nature and the passage of time have left their mark on the once glorious structure. The pristine white walls are now crumbling, overtaken by the jungle that surrounds it. Despite its dilapidated state, the mansion still attracts adventurers from all over the world. These brave souls come hoping to find the hidden treasures that are rumored to be buried within its walls, believing that Escobar may have left behind large amounts of money. But this wasn't the most surprising part. La Casa Grande wasn't just a place to live. It was also where some of the most extravagant parties in Latin American history were held. Escobar used the mansion to host gatherings for the elite of the drug trafficking world, far away from the eyes of the law and the media. Even though he could have chosen any luxury hotel or exclusive location around the globe, Escobar preferred the privacy and control that came with using his own properties. He owned many other buildings in major Colombian cities, each serving a different purpose. These other properties weren't just for show. They were essential for Escobar's operations. They provided secretive locations for him to conduct his business and manage his criminal activities without attracting attention. Despite his immense wealth and power, Escobar was always concerned with keeping a low profile. This need for privacy extended even to La Casa Grande, where certain areas were specifically designed to allow for secret meetings and discreet transactions. The story of La Casa Grande is a perfect example of the two sides of Escobar's life. On one hand, it was a beautiful and luxurious retreat. On the other hand, it was a heavily fortified stronghold. This mix of luxury and danger reflects the complexities of Escobar himself. He was both a devoted family man and a ruthless drug lord. The rise and fall of La Casa Grande symbolized the fleeting nature of power and the inevitable decline that follows those who seem unstoppable. As the jungle slowly reclaims the land, the ruins of La Casa Grande tell the story of a time when the mansion was the ultimate symbol of luxury and danger, hosting some of the most notorious figures of its time. Shifting to urban chaos, we revisit the infamous Monaco building in Medellin. Monaco building. In the busy center of downtown Medellin, there once stood a building called the Monaco building. It was only 6 stories high, much smaller than the tall skyscrapers around it. Pablo Escobar, the infamous drug lord, kept a penthouse there. From the outside, the building looked ordinary, but inside, Escobar's apartment was filled with luxury and comfort. It was his quiet place, away from the chaos of his life, where he could enjoy some privacy. But this peace was shattered in 1988 when the building was attacked. On that day, Escobar's family was visiting the penthouse. The attack, planned by rivals from the Cali cartel, involved a massive explosion that tore through the lower floors of the Monaco building. The force of the blast was so strong that debris flew up to the higher floors, causing serious damage even to the penthouse where Escobar's family was staying. One of the people caught in the middle of this terrifying event was Escobar's young daughter Manuela, who was just 4 years old at the time. The explosion left her with severe injuries, including permanent hearing loss in one ear. This tragic incident showed Escobar that his dangerous lifestyle was putting his own family at risk. It was a harsh reminder of the price of his power. After the attack, the Monaco building was abandoned. The lively sounds of a family living there were replaced by eerie silence. Over time, the building became a dark tourist attraction, drawing people curious about Escobar's life and the violent past of Medellin. Despite its grim history, people continued to visit, intrigued by the stories connected to Escobar and the shadow he cast over the city. But this wasn't the worst part. Years went by, and the Monaco building stood as a sad reminder of a troubled time in Colombia's history. Many people wanted to forget this painful past, but the building was a constant reminder of it. In 2018, the Colombian government decided to demolish the Monaco building. This was part of a bigger effort to help the country heal from the violence and crime that had marked Escobar's reign. By tearing down the building, they hoped to clear away the physical and emotional debris left by that dark period. The Monaco building's story reflects Escobar's impact on the people and places around him. Throughout Colombia, he owned many properties, often acquired through force or deception. These properties symbolized his immense power. However, there was one place where Escobar's dealings were different, a property connected with the Colombian government, showing a complex relationship between the authorities and the criminal world during that time. Now, witness Escobar's risky deal that leads to the unique prison, La Catedral. La Catedral. In 1991, Colombia was going through a very difficult time. Pablo Escobar was in a fierce battle with the Cali cartel and the Colombian army. The Search Bloc, an elite team of Colombian soldiers backed by US intelligence, was closing in on Escobar, making it seem like his capture was just a matter of time. Under this pressure, Escobar did something unexpected. He asked to negotiate with Colombia's president, Cesar Gaviria, and offered to surrender. But under some surprising conditions, the negotiation led to a remarkable deal. Escobar agreed to plead guilty to lesser crimes, and in return, he would serve time in a prison with very light security. As part of the deal, more serious charges like drug trafficking and murder would be removed from his record once he completed his sentence. President Gaviria was praised for this agreement because it appeared to bring an end to a violent period that had resulted in the deaths of many police officers, targeted by Escobar's brutal tactics. But this wasn't the whole story. The prison where Escobar would serve his sentence wasn't an ordinary one. Known as La Catedral, it was a prison that Escobar himself had designed and built to meet his own needs. Located about 50 kilometers from Medellin on a steep hillside often covered in mist, La Catedral was more of a fortress than a prison. It was so secure that it could even resist attacks from the air. Inside, La Catedral didn't look like a place for punishment. It was more like a luxury retreat. Escobar had it filled with everything he wanted, including a spa and a casino. It became famous for the grand parties held there, with hundreds of guests enjoying all kinds of entertainment. The security guards at La Catedral were chosen by Escobar himself, ensuring that he remained in control of the prison. For about a year, Escobar lived like a king in this so-called prison, but then some disturbing truths began to emerge. It turned out that La Catedral had been the site of horrific acts, including the torture and murder of 4 of Escobar's close associates who had allegedly stolen money from him. Even though he was supposed to be locked up, Escobar continued to run his criminal empire from within La Catedral, keeping his grip on his illegal operations. But this wasn't the worst part. When the government found out what was really happening at La Catedral, they ordered Escobar to be moved to a maximum security prison. However, Escobar managed to escape just hours before the transfer could take place. About a year later, in 1993, Escobar was killed, taking with him many secrets about his hidden wealth and the locations of his buried treasures. After Escobar's death, treasure hunters began searching the properties he once owned, hoping to find the riches he had hidden. La Catedral, the prison that had once served as Escobar's lavish hideaway, was also affected. In 2007, the site underwent a significant transformation. What was once a symbol of criminal power was turned into a monastery and nursing home. Although treasure hunters had destroyed much of the original structure, a group of Benedictine monks restored the main buildings. Today, La Catedral serves a noble purpose, providing a home for many people and standing in stark contrast to its former life as a fortress of one of history's most infamous criminals. Do you think Pablo Escobar's transformation of La Catedral into a personal fortress was a genius strategy or a brazen abuse of power? Like, comment, and subscribe to continue viewing more videos of the channel.